For those of us who have young children but aren't able to attend your 2-day workshop, what are some of the things that are specific to couples with young children, both in terms of the problems that they experience and also in terms of the strategies that they can use?
Sure. One of the things that is very important is that when you become a parent, you've made a huge philosophical leap. I'm sure you experienced this when you became a father, that you become infinitely vulnerable, right? I mean, no question that you stop a Mack truck to save your kid's life. Automatically, you know that if something bad happened to your kid, it'd be disastrous. And you've immediately joined the family of man, family of mankind, humanity, and you become so vulnerable. And you're able to love at a level, that is beyond what you imagine. So it's a huge change. And loving this creature together with your wife, with your partner, is, a very powerful bond. And part of what we teach in this workshop is how to listen to babies, how to understand that babies operate on a completely different time scale from us, much slower. And if you can slow down and be with your baby and enjoy, the fact that there is no toy on the planet that is as interesting to your baby as your face. And there's no music as interesting as your voice to that baby. And it's a hell of a lot of fun to be with that child and spend time with that child. And I'll tell you one really quick story, which is, okay, and then you get to talk. We were talking to the Talala reservation one time, and we were talking about the importance of listening to children. And they were saying, well, people have been telling us, speakers have been telling us to tell stories to children, stories about our culture and our people, and you're telling us to listen. And I asked people, how many of you remember what it was like to be a kid? And, some hands went up, and I said, of those of you who remember what it was like to be a child, how many of you had an adult who treated you with respect and kindness and listened to you? And only a few hands stayed up. And I said, would you be willing to share your stories? And all those people talked and wept as they talked about the fact that my grandmother, when I walked into a room, she would brighten and sit down, drop what she was doing, and listen to me, and celebrated me, and found me interesting, and respected me. So I think that's really what I would recommend is the key thing, is to learn how to listen to your child.
Okay, so let me ask you something. Are you sleep deprived or is your partner?
Yes, and yes.
Okay then, let me just mention to you that sleep deprivation is a biggie for young parents. And after 30 days, typically, of interrupted night sleep, almost everyone will show many, many signs of clinical depression. What that means is that young parents tend to be more irritable with one another, a little bit more withdrawn, more exhausted, conflict goes up. Aren't you glad you had children? And, wonderful moments too, but the work has tripled and you're exhausted all the time. So part of what we really recommend is not only listening to your kids, but listening to each other. So if you can have what we call a little ritual of connection, which means a time of connecting with your partner that you can really count on, that's predictable. If you can have a stress-reducing conversation in the evenings, even when you're exhausted, of how was your day, dear? Tell me about your day. And each of you can whine and complain to each other. That is really useful, where people are just empathizing with one another to stay connected. Because when you're so busy parents find they don't have much time to just talk to each other, hang out with each other. So it's really important to build in rituals of connection to do that, that are talking about things other than, did you call the plumber? So that's one. Another is, if at all possible, have a date night. Have a date night where you go out, once a week. Even when the kids are little, you can do that. And third, if you can possibly, depends on how old your kids are, once in a while have an overnight. It's all you'll do is talk about your kids. You know that. But you won't be interrupted while you're doing that, which is a good thing.